det för jävla skräp ni säger, va? Universalrep, sa du. Va? Håller för allt.
I wanted a man called Ove to be kind of dramatic and funny and mix it together.
Idiot.
It is about a grumpy old man. He's crazy, he's funny and so on. But you both cry and laugh at the same time.
Two people meet each other. Now she's Iranian, she could be Turkish, she could be whatever. So I think that was very important.
Ove is so direct. He always speaks out what he thinks about things around him. And he has the values from that other time that you have to be honest and you have your moral.
Hunden ska sluta pinka på våra plattor.
Lyssna inte på den elaka gubben, prins.
And be aggressive to the people who not live up to that moral.
Ser mer ut som en vinterkänga med ögon.
But it's very Swedish.
Yeah, it is very Swedish.
Den här kön, den börjar bakom mig.
Jaha.
You get in situation like Ove and you're standing in a line, you're standing there and you're swearing inside and it's not good for your heart, but Ove, he speaks out all the time. So I would like to have more of Ove in me.
I got this call from Annika Belander, the producer of A Man Called Ove, and she wanted to meet me. And when I met her, she presented this book, this novel, A Man Called Ove, which at that moment was a Swedish best-selling. I know it, I heard it, but I didn't know the story. The same evening, I started to read the novel and find myself in the morning when the sun came up, crying in bed. And I had seen some in the story that Annika didn't tell me. It was flashbacks when this grumpy old man was young and when he met his wife, and it was the story of how becoming a grumpy old man, and I haven't seen that on film.
A lot of people around me was reading the novel. Women were talking about Ove in one way, and the guys were talking about Ove maybe in another way. Because the women were mostly laughing that they could see their husbands in Ove, and the guys was more talking about him like a grumpy, he's crazy and funny, and the women was more into this very touching part of this character.
I get a lot of questions from the Swedish journalists. How was it to play with Rolf? And I just say it was great. When you meet a good actor, you can always be better, you know, than yourself, because it's so important who you meet.
I started to write on the screenplay, and the first very day I started to think about who is going to play Ove. It was Rolf Lassgård who was the guy just come to my mind instantly. He's Sweden's most best-known and greatest actors. He's coming from drama, as a drama tradition, and I started with comedy. And I called him, and Rolf said to me, "I'm not so funny, Hannes," because he didn't know what I wanted to do.
You had a lot of choices. Should you do it more like a comedy? Should you do it more like a drama? Our idea to create the film was to combine these two things, to make it as, yeah, it has comedy, but to take it very serious and go by the touching ways of Ove.
It was one scene that he was so nervous of. It was a scene where he's supposed to read a fairy tale for two-person children, and it's like I know that he has have 3 children of his own. Telling I didn't really get it, but suddenly he's afraid because that scene is supposed to be funny, and he was a bit nervous about it. So then I could help him.
Herr Brum har just satt igång med det han gör varje tisdag. När du blir stor ska du väl bli lokförare, bubblar Guldivar.
Och inte så rolig.
Nej, det tycker inte jag.
Du måste berätta med sagoröst. Du måste låta som en björn pratar.
Det är väl inga björnar som pratar inte.
Nej, gör det.
On my part, I was a bit afraid, like the non-dialogue scenes where Ove is smelling at the clothes of Sonja, because as a director I don't have any tool like lines or so on. But then he helped me, so it was a good collaboration.
Vad håller du på med? Va?
Det undrar jag med, han är inte klok.
Det är förbjudet att köra bil i det här området. Men du kanske inte kan läsa svenska skyltar nu.
Är du blind kanske? Är det jag som kör?
The grumpy man, it's an international kind of archetype. We have him everywhere. The funny thing is that the other element, the second generation immigrant, I think there is the place where we have the magic, because when I've shown the film to some audiences, to film festivals in the States, they are saying that it's so fantastic with Parvane when Ove is very angry at her and she shouts back at him and he's shocked.
Öppna dörren.
Inte mig du.
Nu öppnar du dörren!
She's doing a non-Swedish thing, shouting back. If that character was a Swedish character, there will never be a conflict.
Myself, I was moving to Sweden when I was 10 years old. And we are many Iranian all over the world. I represent so many people. So it was a hard job for me. I think we are just 17,000 Iranian living in Stockholm. And I'm going to present all of them, because we are not represented in films. So I was very nervous. How I'm going to do her, is it going to be too much or not? But my mother is more Parvane. She would like do that with the neighbors and say, no, he's alone, go and give him food. And, you know. But I think I'm more Swedish in that way. So it was hard for me to, where can I put her so it's not going to be stereotyped, and I can also do her as a human being, but still she have her background in Iran. But with Hannes, I was talking about how is she going to look, how's her home, is it like a lot of Persian stuff or it's not IKEA, how we're going to do her, the balance, you know. The team was with me all the time. I was also, when in the movie there is a scene that I I have the child, I have get birth to the child, and I come to the set and I see non-Iranian there, and she have a party. Well, she always invited. And of course nobody has think about it, but I will think about it, because in my family and in my tradition, in my culture, when you give birth, everybody's there. So I go to the director and I was like, everybody are Swedish, this is not authentic. If we are going to do it, we must do it all way. And I was like, okay, we will stop shooting and we will just try to find.
Hej! Gud, vilket härligt väder för att övningsköra, eller hur? Här, du har lite persiska kakor.
It's one question I always get. Do you cook? And I always say, I don't cook.
You don't?
No, I don't.
I thought you were.
I took somewhere for like many years ago when I get married, and I was like, no, I'm not going to be that Persian woman who just can cook. So I was like, no, I'm not going to cook.
In Sweden, we had the struggle between the Volvo families and the Saab families. I was brought up in a Saab family, a more adventure-like family, a family that wanted more. The Volvo family was a bit richer, but they were like, it's not so interested in life anymore. This struggle continued on for many, many years, and suddenly it stopped when Saab, sadly enough, stopped to produce. We looked all over Sweden for the semi-attached houses to shoot the film, and at last we found the neighborhood, Ove's neighborhood, and it happened to be in the same town as they produced Saab. And we were very lucky, because every day we could get a new Saab from the Saab museum.
Actually, Ove would hate me. I have a Japanese car. Yeah.
This novel, A Man Called Ove, no publisher wanted to have it. It was a bookstore in south of Sweden And that guy who had that bookstore, he took the book and people started to buy the book, Mankolo, in that bookstore. Now we had this bestseller, which also was like a surprise in Sweden. And it was another book who started to sell in that bookstore as well, and that was the 100-year-old man. It's in a little village in southern part of Sweden, so you can really test the stories in that bookstore. It's so stupid. There's no stupid thing you can do is to do a film from a bestseller, because you have all these very, very angry book lovers, and they are so aggressive. Every day I met somebody and he or she, do you have the scene when the cat goes ba 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 ba? And I just fantasized about them coming to the theater and and chasing me. What have you done with my favorite book?
Nej, inte den. Inte den.
I think the best way is not to make a disaster of it, is to steal the story out of the novel. You can compare it with if you read a book, you meet some friend and you say, I just read this fantastic book, and your friend is asking what was it about, and you tell the story, but you're not telling the story from the book. You tell your version of the story.
Many people ask me about my commercial break, and I said actually the commercial break was most important for the Iranian and many people, the immigrants, more than for me, that they could like see themselves and see the connection to this old Swedish man. I saw a girl, it could be me, and it was so important to see just not an Iranian terrorist or something. You can see a human being.
I've been in Moscow now, I've been in your beautiful country. It had been a great success in Denmark and Finland, Norway. I've been to Netherlands and Germany and so on because of this grumpy old man. So sometimes grumpy old man can surprise you that he's going to take me out on this fantastic trip.
I think Parvana has a lot of Ove in her too.
I think he's looking and he's thinking the way that my parents did when they were around 59 years old. I was 59 years old when I started to shoot the film, but I mean, I'm in another generation. To be quiet, work, do your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and be honest and do the right stuff. Until he's dead, he's saying that. I mean, my funeral should be like this. I mean, only with people that think I have done something right.